Well, hello, Rick.
Hello, Hector.
Well, Rick, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Hey, Rick, listen, I want the audience, all the viewers, to understand who you are. I'll tell you, I first met you, Rick, I would say about 3, 4 years ago when you spoke at the Exit Convention. And
Oh, yeah.
I literally didn't know much about you, but I tell you,
Right.
your speech really made an impact on a lot of people.
Oh, thank you.
And we can speak a little bit about that at another time, but I'll tell you what, it was very, 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 very well done. So, Rick, what I like to do today, Rick, is I like to go over some questions. I like the viewers to understand who you are as an individual, as a professional, and a little bit about your story and your background. So I have a few questions that I like to ask you, Rick, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Great. So first, can you tell us, what is your business background before real estate? What did you do before real estate?
Zero. I
No
was,
background in real estate. Got it.
yeah,
And before real estate, what did you do?
I pretty limited background, Hector. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I'm during that Vietnam era, right out of high school, went to Vietnam, came back, and I joined the police department in Los Angeles when I was 21. I was a cop in LA for 2 years. I moved to Reno, Nevada, and I was a policeman in Reno for 5 years. And then I got a real estate license, and so I was a part-time agent for 1 year and then went full-time.
Very nice. Wow, what a transition, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's wonderful. I'll tell you what, we have quite a few exit associates in New York and across the country that are also our policemen. So
Yeah.
thank you for the time that you spent there, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, when did you first get licensed and what company did you first start your career?
Well, my entire real estate career was in Reno, and it was I got the license in 1975. I was 27 years old. I was a detective for the Reno Police Department, and I was going to do it part-time. To this day, I don't know why I got a real estate license. I just, somebody said you should get a real estate license, and I got one. And so for 1 year, I was part-time, and I had no success at all. I made $1,100 my first year in 1975. And then after 1 year, I was burnt out being a policeman and went full-time in real estate, 1976.
In 1976.
Yeah, for an independent company in Reno.
Got it, got it. So yeah, so you were a real estate agent and then you became a broker.
Yeah, I was an agent for 1 year. I hit the market at the right time. 1976 was a really hot market, 76 through 78. Sold 42 houses my first year, and I thought I was, pretty hot stuff, And 1 year into the business, Bill Myers Realty, asked me to be a branch manager. So I became a manager after 1 year in the business, and then a general sales manager. And then I bought Bill out my 5th year in the business. So 1981, I bought the company with 34 agents.
34 agents. Wow, very nice. Okay, so when you bought the company, how many agents do you end up having by the time you got rid of it? And what are some of the challenges that you experienced as a broker owner?
I think some of the challenges, like a lot of people in the business, when I all of a sudden I was the owner, but I still had an agent mentality, because that's what I had done. And I thought, I thought you just lead by example. So I was selling over 100 homes a year, and I thought everybody should be doing that with me. Only to discover that wasn't necessarily the best way to manage people. I think the big production I did personally actually served as a disincentive to some of the people in my own company. They couldn't see themselves being me, and I think I actually held their production down because my emphasis was on me doing well rather than helping them do well. Finally figured it out, Hector. But by the end of the time I owned a company, I had 192 agents.
Wow, that's pretty big though. 192. So Rick, you and I, as well as many real estate broker owners, we open up a real estate company and we want to run the company ourselves. We want to do all the activities involved and still grow the company and still go list and sell real estate. And I think that is in my opinion, I think is one of the biggest challenges that brokers always had. Because look, I mean, let's think of this for a second, right? Imagine if you are a restaurant owner, a nice looking restaurant, well, the question is, well, the owner, are we going to see the owner being the cook, the waiter, you follow me, the delivery person, right? Quite often you don't see that, right? So in real estate, we are so devoted to our business that we want to do everything ourselves. And this video right now, this interview is taking place on June 2020. And look how long real estate has been out there. And still, many real estate brokers continue to run the company themselves.
Yeah, I think we're, the most part, people successful in real estate, the ones who become successful, I should say, are a take charge person.
Right.
They're used to doing everything.
Right.
And I made that mistake myself. In spite of what my dad was the biggest influence in my life. And my dad finally got me to accept that. He said, this is a quote from my dad. He said, "You're only as successful as the people you surround yourself by."
Oh, that is great advice. That is good. Can you repeat that again for the audience?
Yeah, he said, "You're only as successful as the people you surround yourself by."
Amazing. That says it all.
Yeah.
So yeah. Another phrase that I have learned is work your strength and hire your weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's another one, right?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. And I'll tell you, that's pretty much what Exit does for a lot of real estate broker owners and franchise owners. We show them a path on how they don't have to be the ones running the show. The key is having a management team. And if we can show any broker owner that they can open up an exit office and they can open it up as big as they want, and yet not them being the ones running the show. If we can show them that path, I'll tell you, I think a lot more people will pay attention to this.
Absolutely. I think that you and I both know Bob McKinnon.
Yeah.
And one of the things Bob taught me about exit, this was the analogy he said, and I've now used it as I'm growing exit in the Pacific West. He said, exit is the vehicle. It's the car. It's the race car. It's got all the tools. It's got the powerful motor. It's got all the add-ons, the upgrades. It's a great tool. And what we're looking for are drivers.
Right.
We want somebody to put in the car and drive the car that we have created. I say we. Exit has created.
Right.
So I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, that is very good. So Rick, so you grew your office to 192 agents. And what year was that, by the way?
1990.
Wow, look at that. That's beautiful. And all in Reno, right?
Yes, in Reno, right. Then I sold the company and for the first time retired, which didn't work real well. So yeah.
Tell me, Rick, when you grew the office to 192 agents, did you have a management team?
I did. Although I was fairly young, I finally recognized that, as you just said, you can't have strengths in every aspect of the business.
That's right.
And so I finally learned the lesson of delegating responsibilities to people whose strengths were my weaknesses.
Perfect.
So I only had 3 branch offices. One was commercial. So I had a manager in each office, and they were non-selling. And then I had a couple of assistant managers where we paid them kind of a token salary for very limited responsibilities.
Got it.
And then I had 2 people in the admin. So I didn't have a big staff, but enough that to take the load from me, because I just finally accepted I could not, nor should I do everything.
That's beautiful. So imagine that's not the way you started. You started by running the company yourself, and gradually you went ahead and you hired the staff.
Yep.
So ideally, right, for an exit broker, let's say that decides to buy an exit office, if we put them into the path of management at the beginning, they'll grow much bigger. And the broker will have a lot more personal time, free time to do all the things that they want to do. That's wonderful. Rick, so you decided so you built your company, then you sold it, right? Mm-hmm. Then you became a real estate trainer.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, my friend.
Yeah, I wanted to change lifestyles. We had 2 young boys, and I was very visible in Reno. And so we should leave the Reno area totally. So we moved up to a small town in Oregon, and where no one knew me, and I loved it. But because of the success we'd had as a company, people started calling in and saying, "Hey, can you come out and share how you did what you did?" And so it started out as something to do, and it turned into like a real job for like 22 years. So kind
God.
of going all over the world speaking to people. Yeah.
Wow. If you recall, and I know you've been in many stages all around the world, speaking to a lot of different real estate agents from all different brands. Can you share with us just one core value that you think you deliver to agents or brokers?
Yes, and again, I'll give the tribute to my late father. He told me this when I was in the business 4 or 5 years. I was doing fairly well, but I just couldn't get to the next level. And he pointed something out to me. He said, "I'm going to challenge you to make a list of everything you do as a real estate agent. Everything. Take 2 3 days and just make this running list. You show properties to people, you negotiate offers, you do listing presentations, you do price reductions, you sit open houses and everything you do." So I did that. After about 3 days, I called my dad and said, "Okay, I got 2 pages on a legal form of everything we do." And he goes, "Okay, good." He says, "Now here's what you do. Look at every single activity and write down what the average agent does for each one of those things." He says, because once you become consciously aware of what the average agent does, it then puts you in a position to make a decision whether you want to do more than the average agent. And he said, don't kid yourself. Don't think you're going to do more than the average agent in every single aspect of real estate. Pick out the ones that you think you're really good at. You have a personal like for, some energy. And when I did that, it just, Hector, it just, like my eyes were opened after 4 years in real estate, that I realized it didn't take a lot to do more than the average agent did so that I could excel at the service I provided people. And it was a huge learning curve for me to go through. So I think that's an exercise everyone in real estate would benefit from doing.
That's a very good advice. That, I think, in my opinion, Rick, it is so ideal for every agent to make a list, or even the brokers to make
Yeah,
it of
right.
all the activities involved. And there's so many of them. There's so many of them. You know, look, there's only so many things that you could do well yourself, right?
That's right.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
the old saying goes like this: do what you do best, delegate the rest,
that's
right?
right. Yeah.
That's
And
wonderful.
yeah.
So Rick, what do you think nowadays? Now that you've been a real estate broker, you've been in real estate for quite a few years, you've been a real estate trainer. What do you see are some of the challenges that brokers face out there still in real estate?
I think that as much as things have changed in the 4 decades I've been in this business, um, I think the core issues have not changed. This is, in spite of what was said 20 years ago, how technology and the tools were going to change, transform what we do, it's clearly had an impact. But at the very heart of what we do, it's still a people business. It's still based on relationships. And if you look at the surveys that NAR does every year, the profile of buyers and sellers, the statistics haven't changed in 40 years. 54% of buyers come from people we know, and
Yeah,
66% of sellers come from people we know.
that's
And
right.
that's in 2019, last year's survey.
You know, I'm glad. I'm glad you mentioned that, Rick, because you're right. People thought back in the days that technology is going to replace the real estate agent, but no, it requires that human connection. It's a big investment that buyers are making, and working with an agent that's going to guide them, I think, will never go away. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, Rick, obviously you've seen a lot of changes in the industry. What can you tell me? What can you tell me? And what is your opinion about a lot of these brands out there and some of the disruptors that are coming out? I know that many of them are gearing more like into technology. So, what's your take on that?
Well, I guess I've been around long enough to believe that when we go through very healthy markets, which we've done since 2011 when the recovery began,
Right,
you have many players coming to the business
right.
because the business is so vibrant. There's so much activity going on. And so it invites disruptors. It invites people to come in, whether they be discount brokers or other people with totally different business models.
Right.
But those markets don't last forever.
Hmm.
And when the market begins to normalize, it's the disruptors that seem to be the, at least in my observation of 4 decades, they're the first ones that it takes a toll on their business model.
Very true.
You know, it just doesn't work in a normal market, and certainly not a abnormal market when it's lower than average.
It is very true. So you've seen, again, you've seen a lot of changes, and there's always going to be more companies coming out.
Yep.
You can't stop that, right? Because as the market gets better or soft,
Yep.
whatever, some come, some leave, right? Now, you've been introduced to many brands. My question now, Rick, is this: why do you choose to join Exit after you have a lot of choices? Why Exit?
Yeah, because I understand what I did for over 20 years. I mean, every franchise out there hired me, and here, maybe this will make sense. When you're hired to do a 2 or 3 hour program, you go to the city, you do the program, and then it was common afterwards, the owner of the office, you'd go have lunch, or maybe even 4 hours playing a round of golf. And that's when you really hear the things. That's when you hear the good, bad, and the ugly, about the franchises they're affiliated with. And there's good franchises out there. I mean, I believe that. But it gave me kind of an inside view as to the strengths and the weaknesses of most of the franchises out there, because I spoke, to all of them. When I spoke there in the Bahamas, the one you saw me at the Exit convention, it was one of the, in over 20 years of speaking, it was one of the highlights of my speaking career. It was just, you can read a room. You don't have to be a speaker to understand what I'm saying here. You walk into a room and you can feel the room. And so the initial attraction was the chemistry, the culture that I felt in that room in the Bahamas. But I left and I went back home, and Tammy Bennell followed up and, said, hey, do you have any interest? And I just didn't. And then, here 3 months ago, I decided that, early this year, I decided I'm going to make a change. I'm tired of getting on airplanes, going all over the world, talking to people. I've decided I'll probably never retire. And so I looked at the different franchises that had, because I think franchising is the future of this industry. Yeah. And what appealed to me about Exit in particular, you've got to have the tools. Well, they clearly have the tools. Right. You got to have the training, but every franchise says they have the best training. Okay. You got to have the culture, and they've got that. You got to have the leadership. Those are all prerequisites for success.
Right.
The thing that has most impressed me in my journey, the first investigation for 2 months and then 3 months now with Exit, the thing of all, it's not the tools, Hector, it's not the culture, it's not the training, you know what it is? I've never seen the level of support from an organization that Exit provides. It's mind-boggling. It is overly impressive. There's people for every facet of what you need when you're with Exit, and they're right there for you. That you just reach out and they're right there with you. It's very, very impressive. That's the thing that has clinched it for me that I made the right decision.
It's interesting you say that, because I personally work with other brands when I was an agent, and obviously, no, they did not have any support like what Exit has. And what I like about this here is, if there was support available, let's say for franchise owners, which quite often they don't have. What I love about Exit, the fact is that not only they created a franchise support system for franchise owners, but also for agents. And that, in my opinion, if I'm an agent, let's say I'm an agent, right? And my broker is busy because there's 50, 80, 100 agents. Listen, I want to have my fair share with the broker, but he's busy. He or she may be busy. Well, guess what? At Exit, I can very easily connect with Exit 4 different ways. I can call the 800, email, chat online, or text, and someone will follow up with me. And that, to me, really made a big difference as well. I'm glad you mentioned.
I think I became known in the 20 plus years I was a trainer for a handful of things. And one of the things I became known for was the very heart and soul of my own company's success. It's what I called specific direction. Most agents don't have specific direction in this industry. They have general direction. Right. Go out and meet people, expand your database, send them stuff. but then they say, okay, but what do I send them, or what do I say, or who do I go to, or what do I do when I have them? And so there's an example. Exit provides specific direction. You got eight weeks of success, to the, specific activities. And so that doesn't exist in this industry very much at all. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's very, very true. So Rick, now that you're part of Exit, what's going to be your job down on the Pacific West Coast of the United States?
Yeah, I've got Oregon, Washington, Nevada, California, and Hawaii, right? And in my number, as I've talked to the owners of the offices, I've told them very clearly, these are my three priorities. In discussing with them, what are your greatest needs? What is it that I can do for you? What can you get better at? What can Exit do to provide even more importance to you? So with that input, I came back to them and said, I listened to what you said, and here are the three things are my priorities. Number one, more offices. Right. We all want more offices. Mm-hmm. Number two is more agents. We want more agents working for us, to take advantage of that unique business model, bring an agent into the office. So number two is increase the agent count. And number three is agent productivity.
Right, yes.
How to increase our production. So those are the three things I'm focusing on.
Wow, that's interesting you say that, because that's exactly what agents are looking for. I agree with you. Yeah, and that's what brokers want. Rick, as a regional director that you're going to be on the Pacific West Coast for Exit, I know you're going to have fun. And by the way, you also have Hawaii, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've had many people offer, hey, you need some help in Hawaii.
You need any assistance in Hawaii, right? So Rick, listen, I really appreciate what you have done in your career. I mean, you have gone from being an agent, being a manager, being a broker owner, building a nice sized company in Nevada, in Reno. And then you became a trainer, okay, for 20 plus years. Now you're becoming a regional director. So obviously you've seen things out there. You know what's out there. My last question for you, Rick, is if there's any agent or broker that perhaps may be thinking whether Exit is good for them, what do you think they should look at Exit?
Well, I think there's a lot of frustration within the real estate industry in that people don't have the personal touch from leadership. They go to work in an office and it's all about how many agents we have, and they don't have that, what we mentioned before, that specific direction. Right. And so it's a given that Exit has the technology. I think actually they have some technology tools that others don't have. I'm very impressed with things that Exit has created in that vein. But you've got to, after you've been around a long time, you've been successful in New York, and I think you'd agree with this. I think an agent, when you owe it to yourself to talk to Exit, to see what they have to offer, but more importantly, you need to see how you feel about the leader that you're actually talking to. Right. Because when it's all said and done, trust your gut. Just trust your gut, and you've got people that care about you. I mean, Tammy Bunnell, the CEO of this whole thing internationally, she sent me, I could reach in my bag and grab it. She sent me 3 books already in 3 months. She goes, I think you'll like this book. I think you'll like this book. Yeah. And I again, because I've been around so long, that personal touch, that reaching out from people in leadership roles in this organization of Exit is something that I've not seen in my 4 decades in the industry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Listen, I have had the opportunity to be at different conventions with other brands. I've been obviously with Exit at many different events. And you're right, the leadership at Exit, they're only a phone call away, a text away, an email away, and they're always there for you. Yeah.
Well, and that's how you've built New York, Hector, just because of relationships you've developed. And I look forward to modeling the Pacific West after what you've done in New York, and I appreciate your guidance as well.
Yeah, well, listen, we're here to support you, my friend. Anything you need from us, there's plenty of us that you can reach out. We'll be there for you. Absolutely. Especially now that we have technology that we didn't have before. We could be on the East Coast and the West Coast and still communicate with each other. Yeah. Well, with that said, Rick, listen, I just want to congratulate you. I want to welcome you to Exit. I know you're going to hit a home run over there in the Pacific West Coast. And I know that, the brokers, the franchise owners, the agents, they got to be very grateful the fact that they have someone at your caliber that's going to lead them. So for that, my friend, I thank you for that. I thank you and welcome officially to Exit, my friend.
Thank you very much, Hector. It's my pleasure.
Sounds good. Well, for those of you watching this video, if you happen to know anyone on the Pacific Coast, whether it's a broker or an agent, you got the man to speak to. Yeah. Rick, listen, all the best to you, Rick. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks, Hector.
Thank you for watching, everyone.